and welcome back to Lisa Lives. A bit of a different one for you today for me. I'm going to be doing a recommendation list for Halloween movies for you to watch. This one I'm going to take exclusively from Netflix. Now these movies are all available on Netflix in the UK. Given they're in the UK, they will be available in the US, because I think the US Netflix has a lot more content than we have here in the UK and Ireland. So if you don't usually watch horror movies, you haven't seen many, you're not sure what's good and what's not, I'm going to give you a list of 10 movies that I think are excellent that you can watch at Halloween. Right, so I haven't put these in any particular order because I would spend too long trying to do so. So let's kick off with one of the movies on my list here, Paranormal Activity. Now, there are quite a few movies, maybe 5 or 6 Paranormal Activity movies. I am only a fan of the first. The first Paranormal Activity movie has a scene that scared the bejesus out of me and still to this day does. It's a found footage kind of movie, if you don't mind that kind of thing. My washing machine's on downstairs, so I do apologise. So yeah, Paranormal Activity, quite freaky, quite scary, one to watch with the lights off on Halloween. I'd be surprised if you didn't get a little bit freaked out. Next on the list, I'm going to recommend a much older movie, as some of the younger viewers may not have seen it, and that is Christine. It's a movie about, bear with me, a killer car. Now we all know Herbie, we all know Herbie has his own personality, he's a person in his own right, but Christine, Herbie is nothing on Christine. If you want to watch something a little bit classic, a little bit different, something you've perhaps not seen, check out Christine, really good movie. Next on the list is one of my all-time favourite horror movies. It's quite a modern one, which is unusual for me to have it in my all-time favourites. It's Cabin in the Woods. This is one I think would appeal more to a younger audience. When I say younger, people that like classic horror, maybe not so much, but younger, sort of like teenagers, kids, 20s, 30s. I'm in my 40s and I love this movie. I saw it in my 30s. This has a fantastic mix of humour. The special effects in this are outstanding. I mean, like, for a specific period of time in this movie, you're just hit with effect after effect after effect, and there's not one weak link. It is amazing. Next is a very recent one on Netflix that I watched for the avid movie watcher that doesn't mind subtitles. This is a movie called #Alive. It's a Korean movie, and it's a zombie movie, very much in a similar vein to The Night Eats the World, if you've seen that movie. It's about a young lad in an apartment complex. There's been a zombie outbreak and he is the only person in the area that is still alive, and he's trying to put out notes to social media to tell people, I'm alive, #alive. Really good effects, really convincing zombies. Love the story, love the acting. So if you like your horror movies, you've seen most of them, and you haven't seen #Alive, check that one out. So the next one on my list is Death Note. The series, I will say, is much better than the movie. Unfortunately, the series is not on Netflix, but the movie is. It's still very good, it's still well worth a watch. May appeal more to the younger end of the spectrum, sort of people in their teens, 20s. Maybe people in their 30s, who knows. If you want to watch something a little bit different from what you normally watch, this is Japanese and it's based on a graphic novel, and it's just entirely different and refreshingly wonderful. I would really recommend that one. Another quite new one next from Netflix by the name of The Platform. Now this is also another foreign movie. I know I do put some in here, but if you don't watch foreign cinema, you really are missing out on some real gems. And if you're someone that has seen all the horrors, it's coming up to Halloween, you've nothing to watch, you could do a lot worse than actually give one of these movies a shot if it's not normal for you. There's a lot of thought behind this one, a lot about social conscience, a lot about the state of the world, but it's like a real horror. It's like something that could really happen. I don't want to tell you too much, I don't want to spoil it for you, but The Platform, it hasn't had very much advertisement, there hasn't been a lot of people talking about it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and it's on Netflix at the moment. Next is a very well-known one from the last few years, and that's A Quiet Place. I'm sure everyone watching has seen A Quiet Place, but if you haven't, if you're not the usual kind of person that watches horror and you want to be a little bit scared around Halloween time, check out A Quiet Place. People may be put off by the fact that there's very little dialogue, next to no dialogue in this movie, for a very good reason. Please check it out if you haven't. The direction in this is just sublime. It's a wonderful movie. A Quiet Place 2 is due to come out, which I cannot wait to see, I have to say. but check out A Quiet Place if you haven't yet seen it. Another movie from a very similar time, and this was one of my favourites of that year, is Hereditary. This one very much divides a lot of people. This one is, okay, I'm going to call it highbrow horror. A lot of people thought it was very dull and boring, but to me it was a very creepy movie, a very atmospheric movie, with real subject matter, with real trauma. I found some of the imagery in this movie really frightening, really scary. I watch a lot of horror, I love horror. It's very difficult to frighten me, very difficult, but this movie is one of the few movies that there are a few scenes intermingled through this, and I honestly was completely creeped out by them. It is a slower movie, it is more story based, but if you get invested in the movie, concentrate, watch it, it really does get to you, it really does get underneath your skin. So if you haven't seen Hereditary yet, check that one out. So I think I've given you 8, 2 more on the list, and next I'm going to give you one of my favourite movies. It's on Netflix at the moment, I couldn't not recommend it, and that is Misery, with the wonderful Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes. I cannot even express to you how much I love this movie. To me it is perfection in a movie. This is Kathy Bates starring as a very messed up, obsessed woman who happens to come across her favourite author in the world, and who has had a car crash. She rescues him, takes him back to her house and nurses him to health. But that's not where the story stops. This woman is obsessional, this woman is just crazy. There's no other word for it, but the acting in this is just sublime. The storyline is perfection. It's truthfully really tense. There are moments where you feel your heart beating, and still, I've seen this movie, I've lost count of the amount of times. So many times my husband is sick of the sight of it, but it's on Netflix. If you haven't seen Misery, it's a Stephen King story. It is amazing, check it out, wonderful. And lastly, one of the sort of slightly lesser known ones outside of the horror community, it's called What Keeps You Alive. And this is a story of a couple celebrating their anniversary, and things start to go a bit weird. They're in a cabin, I think they're in the woods. Weird stuff starts to go down. It's quite different, it's quite fresh, it's very modern, it would appeal to a younger audience. It should appeal across the board, but it doesn't have a lot of the old tropes that the older classic horrors may have, where younger audiences would sort of roll the eyes. This one, it's very fresh and modern. I loved the storyline, I loved how it ended, and it's rare I love how a movie ends, because movies just seem to give in to that picture perfect, this is what the viewer wants to see, let's give it to them. I hate that. I like things ending a little bit differently, and this one delivers on that. So that's what keeps us alive, and that is my last recommendation on 10 movies you should check out for Halloween on Netflix. But before I go, I just want to make a mention of something new coming to Netflix that you must check out, and that is The Haunting of Bly Manor. Now, if you haven't seen The Haunting of Hill House, which is also on Netflix right now, this is a series, and it is honestly one of the most creepy series I have ever seen. Some of the imagery in it just made me shudder, made me, oh, but give me a good atmospheric ghost movie and you've got me. This is as good as it gets. The Haunting of Hill House is amazing. If you haven't watched the series, do yourself a favour, Halloween week, sit down and watch The Haunting of Hill House. And then you will be treated to being able to watch the new Netflix show from the same people, The Haunting of Bly Manor. It's a completely separate story, it doesn't follow on, but I personally cannot wait. I wrote the date down, 12th of October, so that's going to be released very soon, and I personally will not be able to wait to Halloween. I will be watching that as soon as it hits Netflix. So that's my recommendations for Halloween. I hope there is something there that you maybe can watch that you haven't seen already. Anything that's went under the radar, let me know below in the comments. Thanks for checking out my video. I'm going to be doing another one of 10 recommended movies for kids for Halloween. So if you want to check that out, the link will be at the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Over and out from Lisa Loves.